These guys survived the David Kahn era of Timberwolves basketball and live to tell about it. It's Flagrant Howls.
Hello, Judd Zulgad, the sports dad, the man who has triggered all of Denver Nuggets, Twitter, podcasters.
Sports dad right there.
Oh,
Superman.
you can get your number one sports dad shirts at skornorth.com/shop. That's skornorth.com/shop. We
nice.
also have, since we're shamelessly plugging here, we also, for those of you who haven't jumped off the bandwagon because, the series is hard now. Oh, the defending world champions have punched back. You can find your Break Every Record, your Wolves culture swag at skornorth.com/shop. Skornorth.com/shop. We just wanted to jump on here. I don't know. What are we, like 10 hours away from the tip-off of Game 5 in Denver, adversity, and address the report that came out yesterday about Tim Connelly, the architect of this whole thing. Mm-hmm. Really interesting story from The Athletic. Shams had a big hand in reporting this. I'm just going to read this to you. Would love your sports dad reaction. Should we freak out over this? Should we be calm?
Okay.
So the lowly Detroit Pistons, I threw the word lowly in there. The Athletic did not. The lowly Detroit Pistons could come to a hiring decision on their president of basketball operations within the next few weeks, league sources tell The Athletic. Part of the holdup, league sources say, is that Detroit appears interested in making a run at Timberwolves head executive Tim Connelly, whose team is in the midst of a second-round playoff matchup with Connelly's former team, the defending champion Denver Nuggets. Whether or not Connelly returns to the Timberwolves, league sources say, he is likely to opt out of the final year of his contract. So he has an opt-out, and apparently it's right now after the season's over.
Yep.
It seems likely that Connelly will return to Minnesota, but if the Pistons owner, Tom Gores, not going to get
I'm
Tim
going to go
Connelly
with
on.
what you say because I don't know. So I'd be guessing
If
too.
Pistons ownership is willing to offer something like $15 million annually, that could be enough to pry him away. Mm-hmm. So I think he was making like $4 million building the Nuggets, and then A-Rod and Laurie came in, and Glen Taylor said, why would a guy like him ever consider it? Why would a guy? Yeah, who is that? And now that you've explained it, why would someone like him ever want to play or architect a lowly franchise like the one I own, right? And A-Rod and Laurie are like, well, okay, we've done some deals in the past.
Calm down.
We're pretty good at building things, so let's invite him over to Mark Laurie's Manhattan Skyrise, and they wound up doubling his salary from $4 million to $8 million.
Yeah.
Should we be nervous that the architect of this Timberwolves team is going to bolt for the Pistons?
Okay, there's a few things to explore here. First of all, I'm not sure that we should be nervous about the Pistons, but the opt-out should make us nervous because what I would surmise is if Tim Connelly opts out, that he's probably been doing some back channeling and there could be a mystery team. It makes more sense that there would be a mystery team or two. Like the Pistons, if you're Connelly, you played a key role in building this team. You built Denver, but the Pistons are a abject mess right now. So unless you want to build that basically from the ground up, I don't know that the Pistons are a threat. I also don't know that Tim Connelly and his family have any desire to move to Michigan. But it makes way more sense that there would be a mystery team or two that certainly might come out and be like, hold on a second, Tim Connelly? You got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
So I think the fact that he is going to likely opt out makes me nervous. I don't know that it's the Pistons. But the other question is this, and Tim Connelly, clearly, if nothing else, through his relationship with Alex and Mark, he has to know far more about which way the winds are trending here on who owns the team. And once the Wolves season is done, then I think we can focus on, because the playoffs have been fun. There's been no point in focusing on who owns this team during a playoff run. Like, this is the first time the Wolves have done this in forever. Like, that to me made no sense. There's time for that. Well, that time's going to come, Phil, when the playoffs are done. And I do think that there are a lot of unanswered questions. And if you are a Wolves fan at that point in time, I do think that you are a little bit, if Glen keeps this team, and I know Glen said, well, Mark and Alex are dirt poor and can't afford anybody, and I can. Well,
Broke
okay,
boys.
dude. Okay, dude, but are you going to go into the, beyond the luxury tax? I don't know about that. So, yes, I think the Tim Connelly thing makes me nervous, but no, it's not the Pistons. If the Pistons want to make some ridiculous offer, then I guess that could be a problem. I'm far more concerned about a mystery team or two saying what this guy has done is phenomenal, and if we can, if he wants to come, for instance, or go back home to the East Coast. I think his wife is from Washington, and a team offers him 15 million on the East Coast. Then I think it's definitely a problem.
The specifics of this are interesting because Shams doesn't just like float specific numbers. So I'm wondering what the reporting process is here. But the fact that he said league sources say he's likely to opt out, but he's like probably going to opt out and then come back. But if like the
Right.
Pistons offer him
That makes me nervous.
specifically $15 million annually. Yeah. So is this the Connelly camp's way, brilliantly, by the way, of leveraging the current situation? He would be stupid not to leverage the current situation because think about where he's come in the last 2 or 3 years perception-wise. He built 90% of that Nuggets championship team. They added a couple like little bench. He left, and then, of course, they won the championship the year after he leaves, adding a couple little bench pieces. But he's the one, like he drafted Jokic and put together this whole thing. And then he goes to the Timberwolves, and he had to sit there for like 12 or 15 months while the world told him he's an idiot for making the Gobert trade. And he's just sitting there. He barely did any media for like 12 or 15 months. And he's sitting in his office, presumably knowing that he was right. Maybe he had a little bit of doubt after that first year when Kyle Anderson and Gobert are punching each other. But so then the Timberwolves are the 1 seed for the majority of the season. And now they sweep the Suns in the first round. They're going toe-to-toe with the Denver Nuggets right now. Stock up again. And you have an opt-out. So really interesting. If you're him, like, the price goes up, man. Like, I built the championship team over here, and then I built a team that's going toe-to-toe with the championship team. And whether it's the Pistons, I think you're onto something. It's not just the Pistons. It's like if he opts out, then anyone looking for a new direction or looking to build a championship caliber team would probably look at Tim Connelly as one of the 3 to 5 options, right? Like the Timberwolves did a year ago.
Yes.
I do think he stays, but you bring up like if his wife or family are pulling in a different direction. There's all sorts of factors here that go beyond. If someone offers him a bunch more money and the Wolves are tied up in this ownership situation and he would like to bolt to a different market, there's some factors here that we don't really know about. But I think for now, the odds are, according to this report, I believe that he's probably going to stay in some capacity, but it is interesting.
I think what Shams is doing here from a reporting standpoint is also trying to toe the line here, like as close to the middle as possible because of this. So are Laurie and A-Rod going to win the lawsuit? But then is there the final step of the league saying, sorry guys, you won the suit, but we are not going to allow the final payments to go through because we don't believe in you. Like if I'm Tim Connelly, or if you're Tim Connelly, and you get wind that Glen is going to keep the team, do you want to stay here? Because I mean, Glen being Glen, I don't think
it's such a buzzkill if that happens.
And his stock around the league, I mean, this is going to sound harsh, but I have always felt that, Glen, unfortunately, like the Timberwolves became a punchline. So like you were recruited, to your point, Manhattan Skyrise, by these 2 guys who are, if nothing else, see themselves as moguls, definitely have ideas, like fresh ideas. So if you're told, hey, you know what, probably not going to work, what's your incentive to stay here, to work for Glen Taylor when you could go elsewhere?
Dude, 100%. Like, and I don't know, this is the other factor. You and I, we've been at these home games. Alex and Mark have been at these home playoff games. Not only that, Alex and Mark have spent, it was like before all the fans get in there, before the TV cameras come on. I don't believe we've talked about this on the podcast, but it's a good space to do it. Glenn sits right by the Wolves bench, courtside, and he usually doesn't take his seat until right before the national anthem. He hangs out either in the back or upstairs getting dinner, like wherever. He just kind of hangs out. Well, Mark and Alex lately have been hanging out on the court, specifically in front of Glen Taylor's seats. It's almost like a peacocking move.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I sort of read it.
Mm-hmm.
Where, like, dude, before the game 3 home game against the Nuggets where the Wolves got smoked, Alex Rodriguez literally stood and held court with anyone that was walking by for an hour, all throughout pregame warmups, right next to Glen Taylor's seat. Now, Glen wasn't there yet. And then I got to the arena for game 4 at like 4 o'clock for the 7 p.m. tip or whatever it was. It was like 3 hours beforehand, like an hour before fans were in there. Mark Laurie was already standing courtside with like his family, the sneaks on, watching the like Josh Minot's, but like before the regular players come out, watching those guys warm up. It's like those guys are being territorially. This is our arena. We are here. Right. We're gonna be dabbing up all the players. We're gonna be talking to all the courtside. Like they are peacocking inside that arena right now. My long-winded question to you is: would those guys be doing all of that and going to these games and putting themselves front and center if they didn't think 100% they were gonna win this lawsuit or this legal crossroads?
My answer is no. I think that they think that they're going to win the suit. But my question is, and this has not been well defined yet, is, okay, let's say they win the suit. Does the Board of Governors still get the final say?
I believe so, yes.
But my point is this. Tim Connelly is going to opt out. And his stock, which was incredibly high when he went from Denver to Minnesota, will now be higher. So if there's any question in your mind, if you're Conley and you're thinking, boy, I'm hearing some mixed things here, I'm not quite sure, like this is a complete mess, it's a cluster bleep at this point in time. If I'm Conley, I'm probably not staying.
Yeah, to your point, if I'm Conley, I don't want to work for Glen Taylor.
That's right. That's what I'm saying.
Not because I think Glen Taylor is like an ass or a micromanager in that sense. Like Glen Taylor is the least innovative.
Right.
If you're ranking owners based on vision and ability to build a winning basketball team, right?
Correct.
Like I've saw the 20-year track record. Mark and Alex came in, made some decisions that have helped the franchise, hired Tim Connelly. If, to your point, if it's going in the wrong direction and I'm Tim Connelly, and I don't know if the timing of this, he might have to make a decision before like the ownership situation is cleared up. That's the one thing. And that's what makes it more likely, I think, that he just stays another year. And if they don't win the championship, but it feels like maybe they're like one trade away from being the best team in the Western Conference, there's more to be done here. But I don't want to work for Glen Taylor if I'm him.
Here's my issue. While I firmly believe that Mark and A-Rod might not have the capital necessary, I don't buy Glen's whole thing about them, which was basically, well, I got blank checks to write. Like he literally said, part of the reason why I don't want them to have the team is I don't think they can maintain the roster like I can. I'm not buying that. Like Glen has fibbed before about stuff. I'm not buying that. So that's my thing. If Conley was going to be turned completely loose and hey, here's my account numbers, just write checks, baby. I don't care what apron we're in. Let's go into the 15th apron. This is going to be crazy. Then I'd be like, okay, I'm staying. But I don't like, this has turned nasty. And I think there's a ton of obviously rhetoric flying around both ways. But my biggest concern is that if I work for Glen, I think if this all ends with Glen, and so Glen owns the team, I think Conley's going to walk in and say, okay, let's go, man. Let's go. Second apron for sure. I'm not convinced that's going to be the case either.
Yeah, because it'll be obviously the first time that they've been confronted with that. I want one more thing here in a second to close out this just quick, short day of game episode. One more thing on Tim Connelly after we shout out our friends over at Dennis Kirk. So it's riding season out there. Some of you like to ride, whether it's motorcycles, ATVs, UTVs, maybe a dirt bike. Maybe you're looking ahead to snowmobile season because you just love snowmobile season. You want to get out in front. Well, DennisKirk.com has you covered with 185,000 parts, apparel, and accessories, all the top brands, same-day shipping on orders placed before 8 p.m. Central Time. You could go on DennisKirk.com, order some parts, accessories, apparel before the game starts tonight. And free shipping on orders over $89. Financing options available as well. DennisKirk.com. And this week, the Yankees are in town. This is a big sports week in Minnesota. Yankees are in town. The Twins are one of the hottest teams, probably the hottest team in baseball when you look at the last 3 weeks for them. You can secure your tickets at twins.com/tickets. What a beautiful ballpark for these 75, 80-degree sunny days, too. Get in there, twins.com/tickets to go see the Twins and the Yankees at Target Field. Man, when you go back and revisit the Rudy Gobert and Mike Conley trades that Tim Connelly made, oh my God. I'm just gonna give you what the Wolves got and gave up in these trades. We'll start with what they got. Rudy Gobert, Mike Conley, and as a throw-in, Nickeil Alexander-Walker and 3 second-round picks, one of which landed you Leonard Miller, I believe. Those are like three of the main cornerstones of this 8-man rotation that's in the second round battling with the Nuggets. Here's what they gave up for Rudy Gobert, Defensive Player of the Year, Mike Conley, Floor General, and Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Swiss Army knife, jack of all trades, etc. Stop me when I get to an asset that you feel like, oh man, really wish the Wolves could have that back.
Player-wise, you won't.
D'Angelo Russell, Malik Beasley, who might be the most one-dimensional player in the entire league. That dude can knock down threes, and that's about it.
Playing with Pat Bev now with the Bucks.
Yep, and Pat Bev is on the list of assets that have gone away. Jared Vanderbilt, foot injury kind of derailed him.
Yep.
Leandro Balmaro, who's now out of the NBA playing in Spain.
Yeah, that didn't work.
Walker Kessler's a good role player. He blocks some shots. It's like diet
Which
Rudy.
is funny because a year ago, we all said we'd take Walker Kessler back for Gobert.
Yeah, for the price. Yeah. And then a 2023 first-round pick, which the Jazz drafted Keontae George, who's kind of a 20-year-old, 39% volume scorer. And then first-round picks in 25, 27, and 2029, which that player would be a 14-year-old right now that you'd be scouting. So
well, and you can see now that Conley also in because the draft picks are clearly the key, right? Like the rest of those players, you're not like, oh my God, I can't believe Malik Beasley's gone. But it was clear that Conley was hedging his bets because in his mind, and like for this year, he's exactly right. If the Wolves are good enough, that's damn near a second round pick in a draft that traditionally is very weird.
Yep.
So like I think the fear a year ago is, damn, this team does not look that good. Like that might be a fairly decent draft pick. Well, now it's paying off because what the Jazz are going to get in a first round pick for 2020. Well, they don't get one in 24, but in 25, ideally, that's going to be like near the end, hopefully for the Wolves, of the first round. So
yep, and like some of these guys, like the Malik Beasleys, the Pat Bevs, even like Jared Vanderbilt, you can find players of that caliber, those like good solid role players that might fit for a year or two. You can find those with mid-level exceptions, with like.
Well, like Pat Bev is a classic wears out his welcome guy. So like he was going to be gone regardless. Beasley was a weird guy as well. Vanderbilt I did like, but the Wolves have actually found guys who are better at being Jared Vanderbilt than Jared Vanderbilt is.
Yeah, 100%. So anyways, we'll keep tracking this. We'll see. Tim Connelly, maybe they're just putting out the vibes for a nice pay increase with the Timberwolves after what we've seen here, but we'll keep an eye on that. And we'll see if anything else pops up before this run is over. And then don't forget, for every one of these Timberwolves playoff games, we're live on the SKOR North YouTube channel, live Flagrant Howls. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. The sports dad, Judd Zulgad. I'm
Bye,
Phil
Denver.
Mackey. Oh, we didn't even get to that. Yeah. Judd has triggered the Denver fans.
Bye, Nuggets fans.
This is a Timberwolves lifestyle podcast.